Good morning, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join today's webinar on how to use the sharing, scouting, and note-taking features in the Climate FieldView platform. We're going to jump in and get started with how to use sharing in your Climate account. And to do so, I'm going to go ahead and go over to my Climate account using a web browser. So let me just switch screens here for a minute. And here, I am logged into my Climate account. In order to set up sharing, you need to go to a web browser, go to www.climate.com, and log into your account there. Once logged in, there's an option in the upper right-hand corner of the page that says Settings, and under Settings, there's an option for Sharing. If you select Sharing, it will take you to your sharing page. And there's about 4 different things that we want to talk about on this page. And because we have a number of people on the call, some of you are farmers, some of you are dealers, retailers, or agronomists, there's a couple of different actions that you may want to take in terms of either giving sharing access or requesting sharing access from a Climate user. So let's start with the upper left-hand corner of the page. And when I come to this page for the first time, the first thing I see are the people that I have shared my account with. Now, if you have a new Climate account and you haven't done any sharing yet, your page may be blank, but in my case, as you can see, I have shared my Climate account with 4 people so far. And this page gives me an overview of what access those people have to my account. As a farmer, it's always your choice of who and what data you share with in your Climate account. And so you can, of course, choose to never share anything with anyone. But as we like to say at the Climate Corporation, farming is a team sport these days, and there's a lot of different people that tend to be involved in your operation. Whether it is your agronomist or your crop scout, a custom applicator, a retailer, your landlord, or your brother-in-law, there's a lot of reasons why it makes sense to share information among the people in your operation for better communication. So in this case, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've shared with Casey Kiley, and I can see here that I shared 3 fields with Casey. I can click on this number 3 to see which fields were shared with her. I gave her the ability to access my fields, but not access my yield data. This might be what you would do for someone, for example, who might be doing crop scouting for you, where they might need to know where the fields are, what was planted in the fields, what populations were planted, but they don't need to see your yield maps. You have the option, as we'll see in a few minutes, to either share with or without yield data. And then for Casey, I can either change her access, give her more or less access than what I've already given her, or if Casey is someone that I was working with last year, I could go ahead and remove her access altogether to my account. So as you can see, I have given access to these 4 people, and I can see the details of the access that they've been given on this screen. The next part we might want to look at is the operations shared with me. Now, if you are a farmer using a Climate account on your own farm, it may be unlikely that anyone has shared any operations with you. But if you are a retailer, an agronomist, a crop scout, a seed salesman, the farmers that you work with may be sharing their accounts with you so that you can help them in their operations and using the Climate FieldView platform successfully. In that case, I could click on Operations Shared with Me, and it will show me all of the farmers who have shared their operations with me and what they have shared. In this case, I can see that Jay Kadari has shared 4 fields with me. I can see which 4 they are, and I can see what I can do there. I have full access to Jay Kadari's fields. I also have Jeff Hamlin, who has shared his accounts with me, and he has said that I can edit those fields, but I cannot access the yield data on that one field that has been shared with me. So those are the first 2 options to look at on the sharing page. Who you have shared with, and who has shared their accounts with you. Now the next part of the page on the right-hand side is where we set up sharing for the accounts that either we want to access or that we want to share with others. So let's start with the Share My Operation Farms or Fields button. If I click on this, it's going to take me to a screen that allows me to type in the email address of the person that I want to share my Climate account with. Now, one important note here is that in order to share your operation, any part, whether it's an individual field, your full operation, individual farms, in order to share your Climate account with anyone else, that person has to have a Climate account associated with their email address. So if I'm trying to share with my brother-in-law, who I work on the farm with, before I can share the operation with him, he has to go to www.climate.com and create his own Climate account. He doesn't have to put anything in it. He can leave it totally blank because maybe I'm just going to share it with him so that he has access to the account that I've already created. But before you can share, the person must have their own Climate account. So I can go in here and I can type in the email address of someone that I have an account. Let's do this. That's one of my other Climate accounts. I want to share with that account, and then I get to choose what I want to share. I could just go in here and say, share my entire operation, and click the share button, and then this person would get access to every field, everything in my operation. I could go in here and say, I want this person to have access to all my fields, but I don't want them to be able to see my yield files. So give them all access to all my fields, but don't include yield data by selecting this drop down here. Or I could go in and start to choose individual farms or individual fields to share. So I could say, yeah, give them access to the Dominic farms, give them access to the example farms, or I could dive in here even further and say, you know what, let's just go into certain fields, and I want to give access to the Arlington East, the Clift field, and the Louisville Place field. I can go through and select or deselect fields to give access to a particular set of fields. And this may make a lot of sense if you are working with maybe a custom operator who is just working in your fields in Grant County, and you want to give them just access to those fields, but not every field in your operation. Or you're trying to share with a landlord, and the landlord only needs to see the fields that are his and not every field in your operation. You have the option to turn on or off individual fields here. Then when I click share, it will tell me that, hey, you have shared 6 fields with that person. We've sent an email to notify them, and they can now access your fields from their account. So when that person next logs into their Climate account or launches their Climate app, they will be able to see those 6 fields in their account, and that person will have the level of Climate access that you have. So if you are a Climate FieldView Plus subscriber, that person will be able to see Climate FieldView Plus features on those 6 fields. If you're a Climate FieldView Pro user, that person will be able to see the Climate FieldView Pro features on those 6 fields. When you share a field with someone, they get access to the level of the Climate FieldView platform that you have subscribed to. Okay, so I'm going to click OK here. And if I go back over to people I've shared with, you now see that there's a new one on here. I've shared with this SST Hamlin, 6 fields, can edit without yield. The choices are here, and I can always change that if I want to change the access, if I accidentally gave the wrong access, or I want to change what that person can access. Okay, the last part of sharing that we wanted to talk about was this other button here called Invite Farmer to Share. So this is not something you'll probably use if you are a farmer and working on your own operation. But if you are a dealer, a retailer, an agronomist, a crop scout of some sort, and you are working with farmers who are using the Climate FieldView platform, and you want to get access to their fields to help them in their operation, you can click this Invite Farmer to Share button. When you click this button, it will ask you what is the email address of the farmers that you want to share their accounts with you. And again, you just have to put the correct email in here that is the email that the farmer uses to access their account. When you type in their email address, you'll then click Invite to Share, and it'll send an email to that farmer saying, hey, Jeff Hamlin wants to get access to your fields to help you with your Climate FieldView account this year. Click here to grant access. And then that will be a way to prompt the farmers that you're working with to remind them that, hey, let's set up sharing so that I can help you with your account this year. That is about everything to know about sharing. Sharing, again, is an important feature of the program. There are a lot of people that most of us work with in our farming operations to help us make decisions. And through this page, you can share the relevant fields or parts of your operations with those people that will be helping you so that everyone can access the same information at the same time and collaborate on some of the decisions to be made on the farm. Okay, so with sharing done, the next thing I want to do is show you how scouting, note-taking, and those kind of things work in the Climate platform. And I'm going to show you on an iPad, but the same functionality is available on an iPhone, on an Android phone, really most devices that you might be carrying with you in the cab, in the truck, or out in the field. So let me switch over to my iPad. I think you should all be able to see my iPad now. And I'm going to go ahead and launch the Climate FieldView app. That's the one in the bottom of my screen. It's a black background with an orange F and the word FieldView at the bottom. I'm going to launch that Climate app. And for those of you that are familiar or have our app on your phone, this should be a pretty familiar screen to you. It's the overview of your operation. Now, one thing that may look different on my screen than you've seen on your Climate app is the upper right-hand corner. In the upper right-hand corner, it tells me which operation I'm looking at because I have shared my account with several people and several people have shared their account with me. So if you are a dealer or a retailer or an agronomist or someone where people have been sharing their Climate accounts with you, you can use this upper right-hand corner to choose which operation you want to look at. You could either say, hey, I want to look at all the fields that have been shared with me. I'm doing some general looking around my clients' accounts and helping them in general and choose all operations. Or if I'm out today scouting or working in Jay Kadari's fields, I could go ahead and click that button, choose Jay Kadari, and it will limit my view to just Jay Kadari's fields now so that I can, especially if I've had lots of maybe 5-10 different people share with me and I've got a whole lot of fields available in my account. This helps narrow the view so that you can quickly find the fields that you're interested in looking at. I'm going to switch back over to Jeff Hamlin's operation here. And now what we want to talk about is the scouting and note-taking functionalities and how we can use this during the growing season. So what I want to do here is I'm going to generally, if I'm about to take some notes or do some scouting activities or plan some activities in general, what I'm going to do is click on the Fields tab on the bottom of the page. So I'll click on the Fields button and it will take me to a map that shows my entire operation and all my fields should show up here on the left-hand side of the screen. There we go. So there's my list of fields. Now what I want to do is I just want to pick the field that I want to take some notes in. So I'm going to scroll down here and go to the Jefferson Center field. Click on that one. And it'll bring up that field, some information about it on the left-hand side of the screen, and a map on the right. Now, if I was the crop scout and I was going to go out and take some notes in this field, maybe it had just recently been planted and I was going to go out and do some stand counts, there's some information in here that may be helpful to me while I'm doing that. I may want to know, as I'm walking through the field, what hybrid I'm standing in, what population, what the plant date was, and if the farmer has used Climate FieldView in planting their fields, all those map data layers will be accessible to me to help support the work that I'm doing as I'm out in the field scouting. So I can come in here and I'm going to pull up some 2016 data because this field hasn't yet been planted in 17, and I'm going to look at my planting maps. So pull up my planting maps and say, let's look at hybrid. It'll pull up a map that shows, hey, I've got really one hybrid in this field, but I've got a couple different seed treatments. I've got one with quick roots and one without. And so as I'm scouting in this field, I'll be able to use this map to understand which hybrid essentially I'm standing in at any one point. I could also pull up the population map and see, well, what was the population in a particular part of the field where I'm standing? And in this case, the field was flat rated from a population standpoint, so it's not a very interesting one, but I'll just know that everything was planted to about 35,000 seeds an acre. Actually, I can see the number on the left-hand side. It's 35,399 is the population used. I could come in here and I could say, well, let's look at the planting date. When did this one go? I've got that on the left-hand side as well. But the whole field was planted in a single day. It was all planted on May 22nd, 2016. So by the farmer sharing this field with me, as the crop scout, I have access to information that may help inform my scouting activities. So now that I want to take a note, I can come in here, and I'm not going to be able to show this live because I'm not actually standing in this field in Indiana at the moment. But I'd be able to park the truck along the road there on the side of the field, start walking in, and as I walk in, my little blue location dot will show as I walk across the field. So I'm going in, and maybe I'm walking across and I identify a certain spot where I want to take a stand count. I can just go ahead and press. I'll just long press on this field where I'm standing, right on top of my little blue dot as it moves across the field, and it will drop a scouting pin. Now I have a couple different options as I drop this scouting pin. First, I have an option to take a photo if I want. So I'm not in a field right now, so I can't take a picture of the corn, but I would just go ahead and click Add Photo, take a photo, and use my device, my phone or my iPad, to go ahead and take a picture of what I'm seeing. So there we go, take a picture and say use it. So there's the picture that I took in the field. Next, I can take some notes. I can say, hey, stand count equals, here we go, 32,000. So I know that I planted it at 35.4, but maybe I'm only looking at an emergence of about 32,000 per acre. So I can take that note, and because the farmer has shared this account with me, as soon as I take this note, it's going to be shared back with the farmer so he can see and get real-time updates on the activities that I'm doing in the field. And so as the farmer, if you have shared your account with multiple people, you can use the Climate app to get real-time updates of what everyone who is working for you in the field is seeing and doing, and it's that one place that all your data gets aggregated. All your field activity is showing up in one single platform that you can access anytime you want on demand from your phone or your iPad. So I've entered this note about stand count 32,000. I'll put in a note here about whether it's a seasonal scouting note or a permanent one. In this case, it's a seasonal. I wouldn't want this scouting pin to show up again next year in the field because this note is specifically related to 2017. But if it was something else like, hey, here's where tile line is run, or here's where there's that big rock in the field that we need to plant around, you could mark it as a permanent scouting note, and then the pin will stay from year to year in this field for you without you having to re-enter it. So set it as seasonal or permanent. And then set a color. We might say that, hey, all of our stand count or our early season scouting notes are always going to be done in purple. And all of our pest notes are always done in red. And all of our disease notes are always done in green. You can set a paradigm, whatever works for you, to set certain colors equal to certain sorts of tasks or certain sorts of notes so that you can easily identify what it is just by looking at the color. It's given me a location of where that pin has been dropped, and if I got it in the wrong place, I could always just click on it and drag it around to move it to the right spot. But assuming I have it in the right place here, I can go ahead and either, well, I'll want to click Save, but before I click Save, I'll show you one other option. I can click this little button right next to Save, the box with the arrow, and I could say, you know what, I want to text this note to someone, or I want to email this note to someone, or I want to post it to Facebook, or whatever your media platforms are that you have on your device. You can share notes in that way. So I can click Message, and it'll say, hey, okay, I'm going to go ahead and create a text message, and there's a note logged here, here's the location, and send it that way. So you have some different options of how you can share it, but in general, what you'll want to do is just click the Save button in the upper right-hand corner. It will save that pin to your field, and that pin will immediately become visible to everyone who has been shared on this field. Because maybe the person logging the note is not the person who has to do something about the note that's been logged, but all the other people in the operation will be able to see it and be able to find that exact location in the field by walking out to the field with their phone and their Climate FieldView app and just walking their blue location dot until it's standing right on top of the place where that pin has been dropped in the field. So very easy sharing of these kind of scouting notes and communication across your entire operation. Let's take a look at another example of how this scouting might work. Let me go back to my list of fields. I'm going to look at a field called the South Jessup field. So if I click on South Jessup, again, it'll take me to a map of the field. And there's a couple different things that we might be able to do here. So one, if you're a Climate FieldView Plus subscriber in an area where field health images are available, you'll be getting these satellite images of your field throughout the year. And they're sort of a treasure map to scouting. So if I click on this and I look at my field health, I can go ahead and say, back in June 20th of 2016, this was the image that I got of the field. And if I've been farming this field for, the last decade plus, I probably know the field pretty well, and I know the spots that perform better and the spots that perform worse. And this biomass picture of my field that shows me what my green biomass is in the field is sort of an early warning sign of problems that may be existing in this field. I can see that there's some areas in the center of the field that have significantly lower biomass than the rest of the field because of their brown and yellow color. Now, if that makes sense, if I know that those are the sandy knobs in the field and it's been a dry year, and so it makes sense to me that there's less growth there, then I don't necessarily need to go out and scout this. But if I have been, maybe I've been farming this field for the last 10 years, I've never had problems in those areas, and I want to understand what's going on out there. As these images come across my phone, I can use this system to assign scouting activities to people in my operation. Essentially, I can come in here and click to drop a scouting pin on one of them. Let's make it red. Let's say my scouting pins are red, and I put in a note here that says, "Hey, Jim, scout here," and hit save. I do another one in this spot here. I hit Jim, scout here, and save. Oh, let's make that a red pin. Okay, save, and one more here. I'm going to hit Jim, scout here, and save. What I've basically done here, I'll change this one to red as well, is I've created a task list for Jim that he's going to be able to look at on his phone and say, hey, Jeff wants me to go out and scout those 3 locations in the field. Now all Jim has to do is take his phone, drive to the field, and walk himself across this map until he's standing on top of those 3 spots. Once he gets to a particular spot, he can pull up the note, take the picture of what he sees in the field, edit the scouting note to say, hey, we have flooding here, or whatever the case might be. Save that note again, and then I, as the farm operator, will see that update on my phone so that I can see, hey, Jim has gone out, he's checked out this issue, he's taken a picture so I can see what it is, he's taken some notes, and I can get the update that I need so I can figure out what the next steps need to be. So you can go ahead and assign tasks to people in that way. Now, another thing you can do is you can use this as a way to help operators get to the right field and give them instructions on maybe the best place to enter a field or things that they need to do. A lot of times we're picking up new ground, or we have new people that we're working with that may not know our fields as well as we do. And so maybe I'm working with a custom operator, and that custom operator, I need him to go spray this field, but he's never been to the field before, he doesn't know where the best driveway is to enter, things like that. I could go ahead and I could use this scouting functionality on our Climate tool to go ahead and click on the map, drop a scouting pin, and say, here we go, Steve, enter field here and spray burn down. Burn down. Okay, and with that, maybe I'll make this one a blue pin and save it. Now, if I have shared my field with Steve, who is the custom sprayer that's going to be working in this field, he may never have been to this field before, but he can just pick up his phone, look at his recent activities, see that there's a task that's been assigned to him, and use his phone to navigate to this field, drive across to wherever he needs to get to the field, make sure that he's in the right field, and he also now has information about exactly where that driveway is that he should be using to enter the field. So a lot of different ways that you can use these tools to take notes, assign activities, follow up on activities, and really just share information across all the people that are working in your farming operation. So that's about everything that I wanted to show in terms of logging scouting notes. Now I do want to show you where these notes show up and how people can see them. So let's switch back to the main view, the overview. So when I get back to my overview page, I can use the Recent Activities section in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and click the See All Activities to keep up to date on what's been happening around my farm. Now, as you can see, I've first got a planting activity that's planned in the future, but all those notes I just took show up here under March 2nd. I've got the note for Steve, hey Steve, enter the field here and spray burn down. I've got the notes for Jim that he should scout those 3 locations in the South Jessup field. I've also got the note in here about the stand count that we had in the Jefferson Center field. So all the notes that are being taken and all the pictures that are being taken show up here in your activities or recent activities section. And if you are the farm operator, this is the place, the one place that you can go to see all of the notes and activities that have been logged by all the people that you've shared your account with each day. It's sort of a one-stop shop to, at the end of the day or in the middle of the day, just keep up to date on what people have been doing, what people have been finding, and make sure that you're able to respond appropriately. So use that recent activities section as sort of your main communication place for you and all of the people that you're working with in the field. With that said, I think I've covered about everything that we need to on sharing, scouting, and note-taking in the Climate FieldView app. And so just one last slide here, I think. If you have questions about anything, please go ahead and contact our climate support team. There are a bunch of folks in St. Louis. They're at 888-924-7475, or you can send them an email to support@climate.com. If you do give a call, you'll get a real live person on the phone that will be able to help answer your question. And so I do highly encourage giving them a call if you have any questions about how to do anything. And secondly, something else to be aware of is that we will do many more webinars on other topics with how to use the Climate FieldView platform. And if you would like to sign up for any of the additional topics, you can view that list of times, dates, and topics at climate.com/webinars. Thanks for taking the time to join today's webinar. I hope this was helpful, and we look forward to working with you.